In the quiet land of Eldoria, Arendor lived a life filled with sadness and bullying. Invisible to those around him, he felt worthless and alone. One fateful day, a raging fire swept through the forest, trapping him and forcing him to face his worst fears. Miraculously, he emerged from the flames unharmed, awakening both fear and confusion within him. As Arendor grappled with this strange gift of immortality, he began to wonder if it was a blessing or a curse, reflecting on the pain he had endured. Arendor's life in Eldoria felt like a dark cloud hanging over him. Each day blurred into the next as he navigated the hallways of his school, a place that should have been filled with laughter and friendship. Instead, it was a stage where he was the target of cruel jokes and harsh words. "Look at the loser!" A voice sneered from behind him, the laughter ringing in his ears like a taunt. He felt invisible, a shadow cast aside by the bright and popular kids who thrived on their power over him. "Why do you even come here?" another voice would say, sharp as a dagger. Arendor would lower his head, pushing past them, wishing he could disappear. One fateful afternoon, as he sat alone beneath a large oak tree, the world around him began to change. Dark clouds gathered overhead, and the air turned thick with tension. Suddenly, a crackling roar filled the silence. Arendor looked up in horror as flames erupted from the forest nearby. The fire raged with ferocity, feeding on the dry branches and leaves. "Help! Someone help!" He heard a distant cry, but all he could think about was the wall of flames advancing toward him. Panic surged through him as he felt the heat closing in. Was this how it would end? Trapped, unable to escape? In that moment of fear, something unexpected happened. The flames danced around him, yet he felt no pain. Arendor stood in the heart of the fire, untouched, bewildered. "What is happening?" he whispered to himself, eyes wide with disbelief. He watched the flames roar and twist, but they did not harm him. Confusion mixed with a strange sense of relief. Was he dreaming? Or had he somehow become one with the fire? As the flames finally subsided, Arendor emerged from the smoke, shaken but unharmed. He felt a wave of emotions crashing over him. Fear, confusion, and a flicker of something he had never felt before. Immortal? Was that what it meant? The thought spiraled in his mind. "Why me?" he murmured, feeling the weight of his past settle heavily on his shoulders. The pain of being bullied, the isolation that haunted him, it all came rushing back. Was this gift truly a blessing, or was it a cruel joke? He stumbled away from the smoldering remains of the forest, each step taking him further from the chaos and closer to his own thoughts. "What do I do now?" he asked aloud, his voice breaking the stillness of the aftermath. Questions filled his mind, swirling like the smoke that lingered in the air. Was he meant to do something great, or was this just another twist in his miserable existence? Arendor thought of his tormentors, the ones who had made him feel worthless. Could I seek revenge, or should I protect others? A soft breeze rustled the leaves, carrying a whisper of hope. In that moment of reflection, he realized he had a choice. The power that coursed through him could be used for destruction or for something greater. Arendor took a deep breath, a new determination stirring within him. Maybe, he considered, this is a chance to change everything. Yet, the shadows of his past loomed large in his thoughts. As he walked away from the flames, he knew he could no longer hide. The question burned within him. Could he rise above the pain, or would he let it define him? The path ahead was uncertain, but for the first time, he felt a spark of something, possibility. Arendor's journey had just begun, and with it came the weight of his newfound reality. What would he make of it? Only time would tell. Arendor sat at the back of the classroom, his heart heavy as he listened to the laughter of his classmates. The teacher droned on, but Arendor barely heard the words. He felt like a ghost, invisible to everyone else. Each day brought a new wave of torment, and he had learned to keep his head down, hoping to avoid the attention of the bullies. "Look at him, the loser!" a boy named Jarek sneered, pointing at Arendor. The class erupted in laughter, and Arendor shrank deeper into his seat. He wished he could disappear completely. Later that day, as the bell rang and the students poured out of the classroom, Arendor lingered behind, clutching his books tightly. His mind raced with thoughts of the past. He remembered the day he had tried to be kind, to reach out to others. It was a simple gesture. He had seen a classmate drop her lunch, and he had picked it up for her. "Thanks, Arendor," she had said, smiling at him. But that smile quickly faded when Jarek and his friends saw them. "What a loser! He thinks he's a hero for picking up a sandwich." Jarek laughed, and his friends joined in, the mockery cutting deeper than any knife. Arendor felt the weight of their laughter like a heavy stone in his chest. That moment had hurt him more than he could express. He had wanted to help, but instead, he became the target of their cruelty. As he walked home, the familiar sting of loneliness surrounded him. He felt trapped in a cycle of pain and isolation. But today was different. Today, he had a flicker of hope. He remembered Lyrael, the girl with kind eyes and a gentle heart. Unlike the others, she had spoken to him without judgment. "Why do you let them treat you like that?" she had asked one day as they waited for the bus. "You are worth more than their words." Her voice had been soft, yet it carried strength. "I don't know," Arendor had replied, feeling small. "Maybe I deserve it." "No one deserves to be treated that way," she insisted, her gaze steady. "You should stand up for yourself, Arendor. You have a good heart." Those words echoed in his mind as he reached home. He sat on his bed, staring at the wall, lost in thought. The memory of the fire lingered, and the strange powers he had discovered filled him with confusion. What should he do with them? He had the ability to fight back, to seek revenge against those who had hurt him. But was that the right path? "Maybe I can protect someone," he whispered to himself, contemplating the idea. He thought of Lyrael and how she had stood up for him. She had shown him that kindness still existed in a world filled with cruelty. Perhaps he could use his powers for good, to help those who felt just as lost as he did. The next day at school, Arendor saw Lyrael sitting alone on a bench during lunch. She looked up and smiled when she noticed him. Her presence brought a warmth to his heart. "Hi, Arendor. How are you?" she asked, her eyes bright. "I'm okay," he replied, forcing a smile. "Just thinking." "Thinking about what?" she asked, her curiosity evident. "About how to deal with the bullies," he admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. "I wish I could be brave enough to stand up to them." Lyrael's expression turned serious. "You are braver than you think. You just need to believe it. Sometimes, the strongest thing you can do is to show kindness, even when it's hard." Arendor nodded slowly, her words sinking in. He felt a flicker of determination igniting within him. Maybe he could be the protector he longed to be, not just for himself, but for others like him. As the days passed, Arendor's internal conflict grew stronger. He wrestled with the idea of using his powers for revenge or for protection. Each time he thought of Jarek and the others, anger flared within him. But when he thought of Lyrael, he felt a different kind of fire, the desire to be better, to rise above the pain. "Arendor," he whispered to himself one night, staring at the moonlight streaming through his window. "You have a choice to make." With that thought lingering in his mind, he knew that his journey was just beginning, and the path ahead would not be easy. But perhaps, just perhaps, it could lead him to something greater than revenge. In the heart of Eldoria, a sense of urgency filled the air. Arendor and Lyrael had stumbled upon an ancient scroll hidden deep within the library of their village. The scroll spoke of dark forces gathering strength in the shadows, threatening to engulf their peaceful land. As Arendor read the words aloud, his heart raced. "Lyrael, look at this," he said, his voice trembling with a mix of fear and determination. "They are planning something terrible. We have to do something." Lyrael leaned closer, her eyes wide with concern. "You're right, Arendor. We can't let this happen. But how do we fight something so powerful?" Arendor took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the scroll in his hands. "We need to train. We have to be ready to face whatever is coming. Together." As days turned into weeks, the bond between Arendor and Lyrael grew stronger. They met in the secluded clearing of the forest, practicing their skills and sharing their deepest fears. Lyrael was a beacon of hope for Arendor, always encouraging him to embrace the strengths he had discovered within himself. "Remember, Arendor," Lyrael said one afternoon as they practiced their magic, "you are not defined by your past. You are more than the boy who was bullied. You are strong and capable." Arendor nodded, his heart swelling with gratitude. "I don't know what I would do without you, Lyrael. You make me believe in myself." One day, while they were training, Arendor noticed a shadow lurking at the edge of the clearing. His heart sank as he recognized the figure, his old bully, Rylan. Rylan stood there, eyes wide with fear, as he faced a creature summoned by the dark forces. The creature was massive, with glowing eyes and sharp claws, ready to strike. "Help me!" Rylan shouted, his voice filled with desperation. "I didn't mean to." Arendor felt a rush of emotions. Anger surged through him as he remembered all the times Rylan had tormented him. But as he looked at the fear in Rylan's eyes, something shifted within him. He turned to Lyrael, whose expression was one of concern. "What should we do?" she asked, her voice steady even as her heart raced. Arendor closed his eyes for a moment, taking a deep breath. He felt the power within him, the immortality that had once brought him fear. But now, it was also a tool for good. "We have to save him," he said finally. "He may have hurt me, but he is still a person in danger." Lyrael nodded, her eyes shining with pride. "You've grown so much, Arendor. Let's do this together." With a surge of courage, Arendor stepped forward. "Rylan, over here, we'll help you!" he shouted, trying to get the bully's attention. Rylan glanced back, his face a mix of relief and disbelief. "Why would you help me, after everything I did?" "Because we all deserve a chance to change," Arendor replied, stepping closer to the creature. "And because no one should face this alone." As the creature lunged towards them, Arendor felt a rush of energy. He raised his hands, channeling the magic he had been training with. Bright light erupted from his palms, striking the creature and causing it to recoil. Lyrael joined him, her own magic swirling around them, creating a protective barrier. "Keep it away from Rylan," she shouted. Together, they fought against the creature, their powers combining in a dazzling display of light. Arendor felt alive, his heart pounding with purpose. For the first time, he realized that he had the strength to protect, not just himself, but others as well. After a fierce battle, the creature finally fell, dissipating into a cloud of dark smoke. Arendor and Lyrael stood, panting and exhausted, but victorious. Rylan, still trembling, looked at Arendor with newfound respect. "Thank you," Rylan said quietly, his voice barely above a whisper. I'm sorry for everything. I never meant to hurt you." Arendor met his gaze, feeling a mix of emotions. "We all make mistakes, Rylan. What matters is what you do next." As they walked away from the clearing, Arendor felt a weight lift from his heart. He had chosen empathy over vengeance, and in doing so, he had taken a significant step toward understanding the power of forgiveness. And with Lyrael by his side, he knew he could face whatever darkness lay ahead. Arendor and Lyrael moved deeper into the dark woods of Eldoria, their hearts pounding with a mix of fear and determination. Shadows danced around them, whispering of the dangers that lay ahead. They had stumbled upon alarming signs of dark forces gathering, a plot that threatened not only their lives, but the entire kingdom. "Do you think we can stop them?" Lyrael asked, her voice barely above a whisper. She looked at Arendor, searching his eyes for strength. Arendor took a deep breath. "We have to try. If we don't, who will?" He felt the weight of responsibility pressing down on him. With every step they took, he could feel the shadows closing in, as if the forest itself was trying to keep them from uncovering the truth. After hours of searching, they found an old ruin hidden beneath the tangled roots of ancient trees. The air was thick with a sense of foreboding. "This must be where they're planning something," Lyrael said, her eyes wide with fear and excitement. Suddenly, a chilling laugh echoed through the ruins. "You are too late, children." A figure emerged from the shadows, cloaked in darkness. It was a man with piercing eyes, one they had seen in their visions of the dark forces. "You cannot stop what is coming." Arendor felt a surge of anger. "We will stop you," he shouted, but inside, doubts crept in. What if they truly were too late? What if he was not strong enough? As they stood their ground, the figure disappeared, leaving behind an uneasy silence. "We need to be careful," Lyrael said, her voice trembling. "They are powerful." Arendor nodded, feeling the weight of her words. They had to keep moving, but his heart sank as they ventured further into the ruins. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed through the air. Arendor turned just in time to see Lyrael being pulled into the shadows by a dark figure. "No, Lyrael!" he screamed, rushing forward, but the darkness swallowed her whole. Panic surged within him. He felt frozen, stuck in a moment where he could do nothing to save her. Arendor stood there, his heart racing. "What do I do?" he whispered to himself. Memories of his past flooded his mind. The bullying, the pain, the times he felt powerless. This was the moment he had dreaded. Would he let fear win again? Taking a deep breath, he remembered Lyrael's encouragement. "You can do this, Arendor. You are stronger than you think." Her words echoed in his mind, pushing him to act. He could not let fear take control. With renewed determination, Arendor charged into the darkness, calling out for Lyrael. "I will find you, I promise." He stumbled through the shadows, feeling the weight of his past behind him. Each step brought back the faces of those who had tormented him, but he could not let them stop him now. He reached a clearing where the dark figure stood, Lyrael trapped in a web of shadows. "Let her go!" Arendor shouted, his voice firm. The figure turned, a wicked grin spreading across his face. "Why should I? You are nothing but a scared little boy," the figure taunted. "What can you do against me?" Arendor clenched his fists, his heart racing. "I may have been scared before, but I won't let you hurt her." He felt anger boiling inside him, but he knew he had to control it. This was not about revenge. It was about saving Lyrael. As he stepped closer, he saw Lyrael's eyes filled with fear, but also trust. "Arendor, you can do this," she cried out, her voice cutting through the darkness. He nodded, focusing on the bond they shared. "I won't let you down, Lyrael." With a shout, he called upon the power within him. Light surged through his body, pushing back the shadows. The dark figure faltered, surprised. "What is this?" he hissed, retreating slightly. Arendor felt the strength of his determination, fueled by the desire to protect Lyrael. "Let her go!" Arendor shouted again, stepping forward with confidence. The darkness around Lyrael began to waver, and she gasped as the shadows loosened their grip. Arendor's heart raced. He could feel the moment of truth approaching. Would he let the past control him, or would he choose to fight for what truly mattered? The choice hung heavy in the air, and he knew he had to decide: save Lyrael, or seek vengeance against the dark forces threatening Eldoria. In that moment, Arendor realized that his journey was not just about facing his fears, but also about embracing the light within him. He had the chance to become the hero he always wanted to be. And with that thought, he charged forward, ready to face whatever came next. Arendor stood in the clearing, the sunlight filtering through the trees around him, feeling the warmth on his skin. Lyrael was safe now, her bright eyes shining with relief as she laughed, a sound that filled the air with joy. The dark forces had been defeated, at least for now, but a weight lingered on Arendor's heart. He had saved her, and yet he could not shake the feeling of uncertainty that had settled deep within him. "Arendor," Lyrael said, stepping closer. "You did it. You brought me back. I knew you would." He smiled at her, but the smile did not reach his eyes. "I was scared, Lyrael. I didn't know if I could. What if I had failed?" "You didn't fail. You showed great courage," she replied, placing a hand on his shoulder. "You're stronger than you think." Her words echoed in his mind, but the truth was, he felt fragile. The rescue had been a great victory, yet it came with a cost. Arendor thought about the burden of his immortality. "Living forever doesn't mean I will always be happy," he admitted softly. "I can't forget the pain I've felt." Lyrael frowned slightly. "But you can use that pain to help others. You don't have to be alone in this. I'm here with you." He looked into her eyes, searching for answers. "What if I lose you again? What if I can't protect you?" Lyrael shook her head, her expression fierce. "You can't think that way. Together, we can face anything. You've already proven that." Arendor took a deep breath, feeling the weight of her trust in him. It was a new feeling, one he was still learning to embrace. "I want to be a protector, Lyrael. I want to use my powers for good, but I'm not sure how." "Let's figure it out together," she said, her voice steady and calm. "We need to confront the darkness threatening Eldoria. If we work as a team, we can make a plan." He nodded, encouraged by her words. The thought of working alongside Lyrael filled him with hope. "What should we do first?" Lyrael smiled brightly. "We can gather information. We need to know exactly what we are up against. The dark forces might have allies we don't know about yet." Arendor felt a spark of excitement. "Right, we should talk to the villagers. They might have seen something unusual." "Great idea. Let's start with the ones near the forest. They are the most likely to have noticed anything strange," Lyrael said, her enthusiasm infectious. As they began to walk through the trees, Arendor felt a sense of purpose growing within him. He was no longer just the boy who had been bullied. He was someone who could make a difference. "Lyrael, thank you for believing in me," he said, glancing at her. "You've changed everything for me." "I only helped you see who you really are," she replied. "You are brave, Arendor. You have a kind heart. Never forget that." They reached the edge of the village, where the sounds of life buzzed around them. Arendor felt a mix of excitement and anxiety. Would the villagers trust him after everything he had been through? Would they see him as more than just the boy who had lived in the shadows of his past? As they approached a small group of villagers, Arendor took a deep breath. "Excuse me," he called out, his voice steady. "We need your help. There is a darkness threatening Eldoria, and we want to protect everyone." The villagers turned to them, surprise flickering across their faces. One older man stepped forward, his brow furrowed with concern. "What do you mean by darkness?" Arendor exchanged a glance with Lyrael, who nodded encouragingly. "We have seen dark forces at work. We need to know if you have seen anything unusual or dangerous." The villagers listened intently, and Arendor felt a rush of hope. Maybe they could work together to confront the darkness that loomed over their home. With Lyrael at his side, he realized that he was not alone in this fight. They would face the challenges ahead together, united by trust and a shared purpose. The sun dipped low on the horizon, casting a golden light over Eldoria. Arendor stood at the edge of the battlefield, his heart racing. The dark forces loomed ahead, twisted shadows of despair ready to swallow the kingdom whole. He could feel the weight of his journey pressing down on him. No longer was he the scared boy bullied by his peers. He had become a guardian of Eldoria, ready to protect those he loved. "Arendor, we have to move," Lyrael called, her voice breaking through his thoughts. She stood firm beside him, her eyes shining with determination. The bond they had forged through their trials had made them stronger, and in that moment, they were ready to face whatever darkness lay ahead. "I know," Arendor replied, taking a deep breath, "but I can't shake this feeling. What if I fail?" "You won't," Lyrael reassured him, placing a hand on his shoulder. "You've already shown how much you've grown. Just remember, strength is not just about power. It's about love and compassion too." With her words echoing in his mind, Arendor nodded and stepped forward. The dark forces surged towards them, a wave of energy that crackled with malice. He met their gaze, feeling the pulse of fear, but also the warmth of hope from Lyrael's presence. Together, they charged into battle. The clash of magic and steel filled the air as spells shot through the sky. Arendor wielded his power with newfound confidence. He remembered the pain of his past, the bullying, the loneliness, and it fueled his resolve. "For Eldoria!" he shouted, channeling his energy into a protective barrier that shielded Lyrael from an incoming attack. "Arendor, look out!" Lyrael warned, but it was too late. A dark figure lunged at him from the shadows. In that split second, he made a choice. He pushed Lyrael out of harm's way, taking the blow himself. The pain was sharp and immediate, but he gritted his teeth, refusing to let it stop him. "Arendor!" Lyrael cried, rushing to his side. "You have to be careful." "I had to protect you," he gasped, struggling to his feet. "You're more important than anything else." In that moment of vulnerability, Arendor realized that true strength lay not in his powers, but in the love he felt for Lyrael and his homeland. He would do anything to keep them safe, even if it meant sacrificing himself. As the battle raged on, Arendor fought with all his might. He could see the dark forces beginning to falter. "We can win this, Lyrael," he shouted, determination surging through him. "I believe in you, Arendor," she replied, her voice steady and strong. Together, they pushed back against the darkness, their unity creating a light that shone brighter than any shadow. Finally, with one last surge of energy, Arendor unleashed a powerful wave of magic, driving the dark forces back. Their forms dissolved into the air, leaving nothing but silence in their wake. The battlefield fell still, and Arendor collapsed, breathless but triumphant. "We did it," he whispered, looking at Lyrael with a mix of relief and disbelief. "We really did it." "Yes, we did," she smiled, tears of joy glistening in her eyes. "You were incredible, Arendor. You showed everyone what true strength looks like." As the sun set, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink, Arendor felt a profound sense of change within himself. He had faced the darkness and discovered that love and compassion were far more powerful than revenge or anger. He realized that his choices mattered, not just for him, but for everyone around him. In that moment, he embraced his identity as the last guardian of Eldoria. His legacy would not be defined by the pain of his past or the torment he had endured. Instead, it would be a legacy of kindness and courage, a beacon of hope for others who had suffered like he once did. "Lyrael," he said softly, "thank you for believing in me." "I always will," she replied, gently squeezing his hand. Together, they looked out over their kingdom, ready to rebuild and protect it, hand in hand, as guardians of love and light. Share this story if you believe that love and compassion can conquer even the darkest challenges. Leave a comment about a moment when you discovered your own strength through love, and subscribe for more inspiring tales like this one.